Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Fridays wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. We are off and rolling, and I hope that we are going to be able to make some sense of the larger universe as we head into the weekend. So much going on. And by the way, but I want to start off by talking about this story, which is I think intriguing, which is that 10 NBA players have tested positive for the coronavirus. Now, according to the LA Times, only 8 teams so far have been tested, and there's certainly a lot of opinions you guys can have about the idea of testing healthy players when there are a lot of people out there who want to be able to get tested and they haven't been able to, right? Who have symptoms, who are sick, who want to know whether they have the coronavirus or not. I certainly understand that debate. That's another debate, okay? Wealthy, connected, rich people in America typically get better medical treatment than poor people. It's a story that is as old as time, unfortunately, okay? But this is, I think, really interesting, all right? This is, to me, I think, really kind of fascinating. The NBA players, 10 out of 120 of them tested positive for the coronavirus. Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, among others. Rudy Gobert was the first one. The vast majority of these players are totally asymptomatic. That means, obviously, they don't have any symptoms at all to speak of. So the thing that is fascinating to me about this is we don't have very many cases out there of people being tested who are asymptomatic. And it makes me wonder if the NBA players who are being tested and showing positive for coronavirus actually could represent a large number of people out there in the public who have the coronavirus and don't even know that they have it because they have no existing symptoms, again, like Kevin Durant and Donovan Mitchell. We don't know whether or not they are representative of the larger American population, but if they were, that would mean over 20 million people could potentially already have the coronavirus, and it would substantially alter our calculus when it comes to the death rate, okay? And this is significant. And look, I'm not saying the NBA players are representative, because immediately everybody would say, oh, well, we don't know. The NBA players are taller, bigger, faster, stronger, younger than the average American population. They're also minority, right? So it's possible that athletic black men test more highly for the coronavirus than others. We don't know. We don't have a lot of test case, okay? But if they are representative of the larger American universe, this is a big deal. And other people, yeah, they also travel more. They engage in physical activity, which is sweaty, which theoretically would allow them to get more germs. All these things are certainly true. I'm not saying they're representative of the American public. I am saying we have almost no test cases for random cross sections of the American public being tested. Remember, right now we've tested over 100,000 people. You have to have symptoms in order to be tested. And if you have to have symptoms in order to be tested, then the vast majority of people that we are testing are certainly not asymptomatic. That's just basic logic, okay? So, are we as a result potentially missing millions of people out there who could be carrying the coronavirus? This is why my advice is the same thing I told my family and my parents. I said, hey, if you think you are healthy and you don't have the coronavirus, how about stay away from senior citizens? Your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your aunt, your uncle. The easy thing to do if you are young and healthy is postpone going over for Sunday dinner with grandma. Call her, talk to her on the phone instead, explain exactly what you're doing. Because you may be asymptomatic and passing it along to someone who is more likely to have significant issues. This seems to me to be a very smart way, in addition to social distancing. It's not just social distancing from people that are like you. It's social distancing in particular, in my mind, from people who are more likely to be susceptible for the illness. The reason why I bring this up, Right now, the death rate is really crazy across a variety of different countries. Okay, and I'm going to read some of these numbers that were accurate this morning. They're constantly being updated. So data guy who's like, well, actually right now this was this morning when I was writing on Outkick, all right? The death rate in America is 1.5% of infected patients right now. The death rate in South Korea is 1.1%. In Germany, the death rate is 0.28%, less than 1%, 0.28. China is roughly 4%, 3.4 to 4%, all right? Italy is all the way up at 8.3%, all right? That was this morning. My question is, and again, this is a big issue, I think, we are only testing the death rate by dividing by the number of people who have tested positive for the illness. In so doing, we are missing probably tens of thousands, if not potentially hundreds of thousands, or maybe even millions of people who don't actually have any symptoms whatsoever. So this is fascinating to think about, because if we do the denominator, this is the number of people we're dividing by, in a way that is accurate, then the actual death rate from the coronavirus around the world may be infinitely lower than we believe based on the data that we're dividing by right now. And this goes to my larger point. We need studies of randomized samples of people to see what the actual infection rate is in the United States, okay? We need to go out to Costco and get a cross-section of everybody trying to go buy toilet paper, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, all different ages, like 12 or 1,300 of them, so we have an adequate sample size. And we need to test all these people who think they're 100% healthy and find out how many of them actually have the coronavirus. And then we need to extrapolate those numbers into the whole of the United States. Because in order to make smart public policy decisions, we can only make those decisions if we have good data and analytics upon which to base them on. Now, I don't think we're missing very many people who are dying of the coronavirus, right? Now, you can argue China was inaccurate, China lied about their numbers, everything else. I don't think in America today, and in most first world countries, we are missing people who are dying of the coronavirus. I think we are identifying them, treating them, all of those things. So one part of our number here on the death rate is accurate, but the number on the other hand might be wildly inaccurate. We just don't know what percentage of infected people are actually going to end up dying. Some of you say, okay, why does that matter? It matters because the way that we respond from a public policy perspective should be predicated on the severity of the death rate, i.e. the worst possible thing that can happen from this illness. And if we're going to lock down California, and if we're going to lock down New York, and if we're going to lock down all of our country and not let people go out and worry about working because we're basically shutting down the economy, then we need to make sure that we are doing that with the appropriate data having been analyzed. And so far, I haven't heard anybody who has told us, hey, we have a standardized result. We know the percentages across the board. There are a couple of different laboratories, the Diamond Princess Cruise, the NBA players, but they don't give us that discrete, definite data that we really need to know whether we're making the smart financial decision or not as it pertains to the coronavirus. And that's why the NBA players, to me, are such an interesting microcosm. They are a small group that is being tested, everybody, even though they don't show any symptoms. Kevin Durant said, hey, I didn't have any symptoms, but I got the coronavirus. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. We aren't testing most people who are asymptomatic. What if there's a huge percentage of asymptomatic people that are actually like the NBA players that have the virus and have no idea they have it? Well, one, that would be important for public policy, because then we could go out and say, listen, guys, whatever percentage of you out there, you might have this virus and feel 100% great, and you're going to be going around spreading it. This is why it's so important. We can tell you exactly how many million people are doing this. But also, it allows us to make smart, rational decisions about whether or not we make economic decisions that shut down people's ability to work, to make a living, and the overall national economy and global economy in general. In other words, we need a lot better data, and we don't have it. And everybody out there, look, I don't claim to know. All I can do is look at the data like everybody else. I don't claim to know what's going to happen in any other country, right? For sure. But I can tell you that the obsession with Italy, which is all I hear people talk about, Italy, 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 is to me really kind of defeating the purpose, because right now Italy is an outlier. Even if you compare all the Asian countries and all of the European countries, nobody is really close to Italy right now. And for people out there who are like, America's 7 days behind Italy, or we're 10 days behind Italy, or whatever the argument is, we're not actually. If you look at the death rates 7 days ago in Italy, they were wildly higher than they are today in the United States. If you look at the death rates 10 days ago in Italy, they were wildly higher than they are in the United States today. But also, Italy's death rate is wildly higher than Germany. I just told you Germany has a, 0.2 some odd death rate percentage? Same thing with Spain and with France. Italy is off the charts compared to all of these other European countries as well. Again, Germany ain't that far from Italy, all right? Germany, 0.28 death rate percentage. Italy, 8.3. South Korea, 1.1. I don't understand exactly what is going on. I'm not claiming to understand it all. But one theory could be that a lot more people in Italy are infected than in these other European countries, and so they have more devastating results from a death perspective. They're also the second oldest country, I believe, in the world, behind Japan. So there are a lot of different, what you would say, like factors and details that may be out there in that scenario and in that analysis. But that is the big takeaway in general. The NBA with the 10 players is utterly fascinating. And I agree with you. Colin Cowherd did a good job of an interview with Dr. Drew that was interesting to talk about this as well. Okay? So, and by the way, there are people out there who are obsessed. I mean, obsessed with things being awful. We are going to be okay. Okay? I don't understand this desire that people have to believe that the world is coming undone. We have been through much more difficult situations in the past. We will probably face much more difficult situations in the future. We're going to be fine. The panic, as Dr. Drew himself said at this point, is worse than the coronavirus itself. We need to make logical, rational decisions based on data, okay? And we don't have enough good data right now to know whether we are making the most logical, rational decisions. I want to know what the infection rate is for people who feel 100% healthy, because that will give us some sense of how widespread this virus might be. Why does that matter? Because it gives us a sense of how much more the virus can spread, okay? This is a really interesting way to look at it, and I believe the NBA has an opportunity. I would go ahead, if I were the NBA, and test the rest of the players in the league so that you get everybody, so you then have a larger group of control specimens, for lack of a better way of putting it, where the entire league has been tested to see what their infection rate might be. Right now it's around 8.3%, and that is, I think, important in general. I don't read very many of the comments, by the way, but if I happen to look over and people are obsessed, I've probably read 5 comments, but if I happen to look over and 2 of yours are obsessed with the worst case scenario, I don't believe you should be able to comment on my show. Just going to wipe you out, all right? And frankly, when I talk coronavirus, a part of me is of the opinion that I should just turn the comments off, because I can turn the comments off and then people can't say anything at all. So, again, I think that could be a valuable move. Guy just said I suck at investing in the stock market. I made a ton of money today, bud. All right? Absolute ton of money today. Have you seen what the gambling company stocks did? They finally started to turn. They've been getting hammered, absolutely hammered of late, and now they're finally starting to turn. But in terms of the prevalence of this disease, to me, I think that this is an interesting question when you look at Sean Payton, when you look at the 10 NBA players, when you look at Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, Idris Elba. I'm sure there's a lot of other famous people out there. That's a lot of famous people to have this coronavirus and only have like 15,000 cases so far documented in the United States. So that is worth talking about it, sharing about it. If you're interested at all in this, I don't claim to be an epidemiologist or a statistician by any stretch of the imagination, but I would encourage you to go read outkick.com and read what I wrote all about the NBA players testing positive and why I think that's significant. By the way, before I go into new topics, I want to welcome in Orlando, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and Seattle, all 4 new markets for the Outkick radio show. If you're not listening to the Outkick radio show every morning, you're missing out quite a bit. Again, all 4 new markets, Orlando, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and Seattle. Welcome in. I appreciate you for being fans and listening. Also, if you haven't heard Maryland, we took calls in hour 3. I don't know how many of you heard the call in hour 3, but Marilyn was not happy with me. Marilyn was not happy with me. It was great radio. She went off on me. I think you guys will enjoy that. You can go listen on the podcast if you haven't already done so. All right? Just go check it out. All right? Thank you. Hour 3 I thought was great. Todd Gurley released by, all right, let's go into sports. All right? Turning the page from the coronavirus. People say, oh, talk about sports. Talk about sports. I'm going to talk about sports now. All right? I am flipping the page. I'm going to talk about the most recent sports stories, which primarily involve Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, running back decisions. All right? This is a crazy stat. Todd Gurley was one of 22 running backs taken in the 2015 draft by the LA Rams. After he was released last night, not one team still has the running back they selected in the 2015 draft. That stat blew my mind. 22 running backs were drafted in 2015. With the release of Todd Gurley, not one team that drafted a running back still has that player on their team. That is unbelievable. 0 out of 22, all right? Here were the highest paid running backs right now. Gurley had $14.375 million on his contract when they cut him. Ezekiel Elliott's making $15 million a year. Le'Veon Bell, $13.1 million. David Johnson, $13 million. Good job, Bill O'Brien, by going to grab him. Austin Eckler, $6 million. Duke Johnson, $5 million. Giovanni Bernard, $5 million. That's the top 6 highest paid running backs. Now, Derrick Henry is on track to get $10.4 million under the franchise tag, but that's pretty amazing that Ezekiel Elliott, $15 million. Anybody think he's worth that? I don't. Le'Veon Bell, $13 million. Anybody think he's worth that? I don't. David Johnson, $13 million. No way. The running back position has basically given up the ghost. And what's remarkable about that is if you're around my age, I grew up in the Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith era when those guys defined the NFL for me and anybody else who's around my age. And now running backs, by and large, have almost become afterthoughts. It's become even more of a passing league. But Todd Gurley was signed by the Falcons. I have not yet seen the terms. He's going back to Georgia. We'll see how much he has left. The crazy thing is, Todd Gurley is still only 25 years old. Still only 25, and it appears already his best years are behind him as a running back. Also, Melvin Gordon signs with the Broncos. Substantial addition there for Melvin Gordon in a big way. The Broncos, if Drew Lock continues to evolve like he did at the end of last year, the Broncos could be a lot of fun to check out. A lot of fun to watch that team. I like some of the moves that they are making. I think Melvin Gordon could be a really good fit for the Broncos, who have had a long history of having a lot of success with running backs. Finally, Tom Brady officially to the New England Patriots. He said, excited, humble, and hungry. If there's one thing I've learned about football, it's that nobody cares what you did last year or the year before that. You earn the trust and respect of those around you through your commitment every single day. I'm starting a new football journey and thankful for the Buccaneers for giving me an opportunity to do what I love to do. I look forward to meeting all my new teammates and coaches and proving to them that they can believe and trust in me. I've always believed that well done is better than well said, so I'm not going to say much more. I'm just going to get to work. # year one. What are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers paying Tom Brady to get to work? Well, $50 million, which is very affordable. He's going to make a $10 million roster bonus, $15 million base, and $4.5 million in incentives. So that is right at $30 million. And it's basically a $60 million deal, even though it's being described as a $50 million deal. No tag or trade provision, so no trade clause guy can be really excited to check that out. All right, and the final details I want to tell you. I asked you guys, poll question that was up. Yeah, Phillip Rivers got $25 million as well. I asked you guys what you thought of the quarterback signings so far. Ryan Tannehill, Phillip Rivers to Indy. We had Tom Brady to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we also had a Teddy Bridgewater move to the Carolina Panthers. And so I put this up as a poll question. I said, hey guys, let me know what you think. What percentage of you, how would you vote? Let's see, 35,000 of you have voted, and 35,000 of you voted to say Brady to Bucks is the best free agent quarterback signing. That was a heck of a signing. Bridgewater to Panthers, 31% of you thought that was the best signing. 18% of you said Phillip Rivers to Indy, and only 15% of you liked Ryan Tannehill to the Titans. So the Outkick voters, nearly 35,000 of you, you liked Brady as the best signing, Bridgewater as the second best signing, Phillip Rivers as the third best, and Tannehill as the fourth best signing. All right. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I might come on over the weekend depending on what the news stories are. Otherwise, I'll be a lot like you guys, desperately missing sports. I will be back on Monday at a minimum with the radio program. Again, welcome Orlando, welcome Jacksonville, welcome Cleveland, and welcome Seattle. We will be on everywhere, every bat channel. Also, Sirius XM Channel 83, the Fox Sports Radio app. The Fox Sports Radio channel. We are on there as well if you are out and about and you have Sirius or XM. All right. Love all of you. Going to block a guy as we go who says my career is over. That's an interesting move because I honestly have to tell you this, bud. My career's never been stronger. It's wild. Things couldn't be going any better for me from a professional perspective. I know it makes the haters mad, but guess what? Kisses. Your boy's just getting more dominant. This has been Outkick the Show. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow, Sunday, but definitely Monday. See y'all. Love you. Thank you, Facebook.